Thanks for joining us for today's webinar, which is called Mapping Bicycle-Friendly Communities with Bike Count Data. We're really excited to bring this great lineup of speakers to you today to talk about the importance of bike data and how it's happening in real bicycle-friendly communities all across the country. So just to start with some quick housekeeping notes, this session is being recorded and you'll be able to watch it later through the Bike League YouTube channel or on our webinars page. All attendees during the live webinar are muted and off camera, but you are more than welcome to type in your questions at any time in the Zoom Q&A or chat. And closed captions are available, and you should be able to turn those on or off at any time. We will be emailing out the recording for this webinar to everyone who registered in advance, along with the slides. So you can look for that in your inbox or again on bikeleague.org/webinars or on our YouTube channel. Great. So just to introduce the League, my name is Amelia Neptune. I'm the director of the Bicycle Friendly America program here at the League. And if you haven't heard of us before, we're a national nonprofit bike advocacy organization. We are the oldest bike advocacy organization in the country, possibly in the world. We were originally founded in 1880 to advocate for the very first paved roads in the country. And I like to joke that we did an awfully good job at that. And today our mission continues in a very similar spirit of leading the movement to create a bicycle-friendly America for everyone. And we do that through a multi-pronged approach of advocating and amplifying voices of bicyclists all across the country and on Capitol Hill, lobbying for federal improvements in policy and funding to make bicycling safer all across the country. We have an education program where we promote best practices in safety for bicyclists and driver education. That includes youth and adult education. And we support and showcase the grassroots movement happening on the ground all across the country through our Bicycle Friendly America program. And we are part of a national movement building this Bicycle Friendly America that includes you and everyone else who rides a bike. We can't do this work alone, and we are really proud to be partners with the CDC's Active People Healthy Nation initiative, which is a national initiative to help 27 million Americans become more physically active by 2027. And we know that bicycling as an everyday way to get around is a great way to do that. And so this is just one example of how this is a national movement that spans many sectors and achieves many goals all across the country. Dialing in on the work that I do here at the League, I run the Bicycle Friendly America program. And through this program, we evaluate all 50 states every other year. And then we have opt-in programs for communities, businesses, and universities. And those entities can apply to be evaluated by the League and then awarded and recognized for the great things that they're doing if they meet our standards. And we do that evaluation through a framework that we call the 5E framework. And those 5Es are, as you can see on the screen, engineering, education, encouragement, evaluation and planning, and equity and accessibility. And all of these E categories work together in this sort of holistic framework where you really need each of them in order for all of them to work successfully. And today's webinar topic is so important because a really critical piece of that evaluation and planning part of our application and our evaluation framework is data collection and ridership counts and measuring the impact of the changes that you're making in your community. So as you can see, we see this as a real cycle that sort of plays out in communities that are participating in the Bicycle Friendly Community program, where they maybe make some improvements under education and encouragement, which help to normalize biking and grow public support for bicycling. And then that helps the city make investments in things like infrastructure. And then they're able to see ridership increasing, which then helps grow bike culture, and the cycle sort of continues. But that top piece of ridership increasing, being able to prove it and measure it and see the impact of those investments over time is so critical. And I also want to emphasize that this is both done qualitatively and quantitatively. Today's webinar is talking all about quantitative data, but we see so much need for all types of data, and we encourage our communities in the BFC program to really use the wide variety of tools that are out there. And EcoCounter provides one of those tools. It's a really excellent service and provider for ridership count data. And so we've been really proud to have a partnership with EcoCounter over the years. And I just wanted to include some highlights of some of the things that we've done over the years with EcoCounter, because it's pretty cool to look back at all of this. So I'll put this link in the chat for everybody if you want to look at the full infographic that's on my screen now. But back in 2018, we did a state of bicycling counting to inventory all across BFCs and sort of create this great infographic of what communities and what types of communities were doing what types of data collection. And I imagine if we did this survey today, the results might look a little bit different. But it was clear back then, and it's clear today, that the higher level awarded communities at the silver, gold, and platinum levels are doing more with bike data and bike counts. We also wanted to help communities who have been collecting data understand all the things they can do with that data. So for several years, EcoCounter and the League partnered together on an effort called Bikes Count, which was a competition where any community that had any kind of data, didn't need to be EcoCounter data, could apply. And we've selected winners every year. And those winners received pro bono data analysis from EcoCounter, and we were able to provide reports and sort of storytelling components for those communities. But the result is we've got these years of really great reports and webinars that we've done with real communities to sort of show what you can do once you have collected data. So here's an example from Lincoln, Nebraska. Here's another one from Madison and Fitchburg, Wisconsin. And all of this information has been captured through the League's webinar series. And I'll put another link in the chat, which takes you to the page where I said today's webinar recording will go, but it's also where all the past webinars that we've done with EcoCounter over the years can be found. So I encourage anyone who's curious about bike count data and all the wonderful things you can do with it to go back into our archives and find those recordings. And that brings us up to today, where we are announcing sort of the next phase of the partnership between the League and EcoCounter. And I am really excited for everybody who's on today's webinar to get this great sneak preview of what we'll be talking about. But I will, before we transition to our presenters, I will just make a quick plug that everything you hear about today, we will be going into a lot more depth about at the National Bike Summit in person in March in Washington, D.C. So we hope you will come, and I am really excited to be the first to be able to say on a webinar, registration is now open. It just opened today. So I'll put another link in the chat if you are curious about the National Bike Summit. But this is going to be a place for networking and learning, and we will be doing a session on bike counts and ridership data in partnership with EcoCounter and several other speakers. So we hope you come, and the summit will be an opportunity to give you sort of the next stage of the partnership that you'll hear more about in the presentations to come today. And next, I will just say, before I hand it off to Kara at EcoCounter, I will just say that I am really excited about the two bicycle-friendly communities that you're going to hear from on today's webinar. Fort Collins is a platinum level BFC, and Ada County in Idaho is a gold level BFC. Both of these communities have been in the program for decades and have moved up in the program to reach their current levels. And they have both done that through persistence and efforts like data collection that have helped show their community the impact that those investments in biking have made, and the progress that they're making in seeing real movement in their ridership. So I will stop sharing my screen and invite our good friend Kara from EcoCounter to come on and join us and share her screen. Thanks, Kara. I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Amelia. Just give me one moment to open my presentation.
And while we're waiting, I'll just reiterate that you can put any questions in the chat or Q&A at any time.
Hold on 1 second. There we go. Can you see it in full screen mode now?
Yep, perfect. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Amelia. So appreciative of that introduction. And big thank you to the presenters that are also joining us today. We're so excited to launch this project that we're working on this year. And Amelia did a really great job of outlining the history of our partnerships over the years. And you've seen the various projects that we've worked on in the past. And so this year, one of the big projects that we're working on that I'll be speaking a bit more about is mapping the bicycle-friendly communities across the US, starting with the platinum and gold level communities. But before I talk more about that, I'll just introduce EcoCounter. So we are a global leader in bicycle, pedestrian, and other micromobility counting solutions. We work throughout the world, and we're active in more than 30 countries, and we work with more than 49 states across the US. And we've been in this industry for over 20 years. So we try to provide 3 pillars of support to our clients. We design and manufacture the counters. We also provide a user-friendly software that translates that raw data into visualizations. And we also provide data services to help make sense of all that data. And we also have maintenance and technical support throughout the entire lifespan of your counter, from installation to navigating any technical issues that may arise in the future. So you are all familiar, as Amelia was mentioning when she was talking about the bicycle-friendly communities, that data collection is a big part of being able to grow a bike count program, or to grow a bicycle program in general. But it's also really important to just understand who is moving around your community, how, and where are they going. And so there's a variety of different ways that you can be able to collect that data. Starting with manual counters. So they require a lot of people power. And if you're fortunate enough to have a large fleet of or a large team of volunteers, it can be a pretty cost economical way of being able to get some insight as to how many people are biking. And an advantage to manual counting is that you can also collect some qualitative data while you're doing so. So maybe you could try to understand the gender divide between the people who are cycling. But they do give you a very limited snapshot of what is happening. It's just on a one day, and it's just it's a very time-specific snapshot of what's happening. And it's dependent on what the weather conditions are and general kind of conditions on that one particular moment when the count is occurring. Then there's also automatic counters, and they provide 24/7 counting. They're working when the weather is great, when it's not great, in all seasons, but they do require upkeep and maintenance, and they do represent just one point within your bicycle network, and they don't show where the destinations are, where people are headed. It can give you ideas, insights, and trends as to where people are going and how they're moving, but it doesn't give you the full route that people are taking. And then there's also trace data, also referred to as big data or floating data. And this is GPS trace data that can be scraped using cell phone data or other bike share data sources. And this is more comprehensive in that it will show you where people are traveling to, where their origin and destination is, and what routes are more heavily trafficked. But and it can also provide qualitative data as well, but it's also very difficult to have a statistically significant sample size and understand how the entire population moves around. So they're all great sources of data, but they all have their limitations and their challenges. And so at EcoCounter, we really focus on being able to provide those automatic counters. So we have kind of a range of different counter options. We provide permanent counters, so in-ground counters with inductive loops or passive infrared sensors. We also have AI cameras. And then we also have mobile counters that allow you to move them around to different locations and do short-term temporary counts to maybe get an idea of how people are moving through particular gaps within your cycling network. Then accompanying the hardware and the counters themselves, we also have our EcoVisio software. So like I said earlier, it basically takes that raw data and translates it into visualizations and charts and graphs. EcoVisio also is a tool to help you manage your counter fleet, to understand what the battery status is. It gives you some more advanced data analysis to really see those short and long-term trends that are occurring within your data. And it's also a really effective tool to be able to share the data with your internal stakeholders, but also to be able to share it with public as well. And we have our public web page, which basically takes the data that you see in EcoVisio and makes it publicly available. The data that you want to be publicly available, of course. And it's a really great tool to be able to share and celebrate and congratulate the usage of cycling throughout your community. So this project that we're working on with the League of American Bicyclists is basically taking a public web page, but instead of it being just for one agency and showing their fleet counter data, we're taking various bicycle communities from across the country and putting them onto one map so that it can be an interactive tool so that people can go and visit and see where these bicycle friendly communities are across the country and have an idea or explore the data that's available. So to talk more about their programs, we have two presenters with us today. And today I'm going to start with Sean Kelly. He's an accessibility and mobility specialist with Ada County Highway District. And I'll just read his quick bio. So Sean Kelly is the accessibility and mobility specialist for Ada County Highway District, where he focuses on ensuring equitable pedestrian access and ADA compliance throughout the public right-of-way. Additionally, Sean maintains the Bike and Pedestrian Counter Program for the district. A certified ADA coordinator, Sean brings a unique background to his work. He is a retired U.S. Army veteran with experience in counterterrorism and intelligence. Following his military service, he earned dual bachelor's degree in sociology and physiology and a master's in community and regional planning from Boise State University. His work reflects a continued commitment to public service, accessibility, and community equity. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. I'm just going to stop my presentation and I will pass it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen here and hopefully get it right. And I think I got it right.
Yep.
So yeah, so again, my name is
great.
Sean Kelly. Thank you. Accessibility and mobility specialist for the Ada County Highway District. I do manage the bike and ped counters that we have here. My counterpart, Meg McCarthy, who I will have her information for after the presentation. She is our bike and pedestrian coordinator. We work closely together on a lot of different projects, but there are things that she would have been the one presenting a lot of this information. I will do my best to channel her while we present and give you some stuff about Ada County Highway District. To start talking about Ada County Highway District, what we are, we're a bit of a unicorn. We're kind of a fun institution established in 1972 with a five commissioner elected board. We encompass 6 cities: Boise, Kuna, Meridian, Eagle, Star, and Garden City, as well as all unincorporated county for Ada County. We've got about 5,500 lane miles for vehicles, and 300 of those have on-street bike facilities, with another 420 miles of off-street. Idaho's a place where people can drive their big 4-wheel drive pickup trucks like myself, as well as hike, cycle, fish, and other outdoor activities. The natural environments and the vistas that we have here are celebrated. Biking is a huge part of that. There's also a strong effort to get people to where they're going outside of a vehicle in Ada County. We want less trips on our transportation system. And to talk a little bit about our strong attachment to American biking character, we used to have the largest women's bike race here in Idaho, 1997 to 2002. It was the HP International Women's Challenge, which is pretty interesting. And then we also have our local celebrities. We have Kristen Armstrong, who's a local here with her businesses that she does here, Olympic gold medalist, and 2 of the 5 American participants in the Tour de France this year are from Boise. That's Matteo Jorgensen and Will Barta. So the question was why BFC? Why did we want to do the bicycle friendly community? We'd been applying, as you saw on the previous slide, since 2004. We obtained silver in 2014 and maintained that till 2024, where we obtained gold. Why BFC is more of it is the leading rater of networks in the US. So almost why not? Why would we not do that? It's a low cost way to analyze, and probably the best way to analyze a report on your bike network. Because of what it does, it forces a lot of collaboration and self-assessment. We collaborated with just about any community entity that worked with bikes and pulled in everybody, advocates, nonprofits, including those that work with people with disabilities. Through that process, we built an enormous amount of trust with those organizations and those agencies, because we opened ourselves up to talk to them about that. To say a little bit about the inter-coordination with interagency and we'll snapshot that in the next slide. But planning can clash with engineering, because building and retrofitting is hard. Planning often wants to flip the script, and engineering likes the script just fine. It doesn't need to be flipped. But we convey to our counterparts here, and we did convey that we do, that the Bicycle Friendly Community Award is shared across all the departments and disciplines for successfully employing bike strategies in a vehicle dominant environment. And it allowed us to have conversations internally that we wouldn't ordinarily have. So we have a better working relationship. So it did a lot for us, and it does a lot for us to go through that process. And this is just a snapshot of who our internal staff are that in one way or another touch bike facilities, myself included, in their daily activities. And this says nothing of the interagency coordination, advocates, nonprofits, law enforcement, you name it, that we coordinated with during this process. It really exercised our ability to network and explore stakeholder engagement. Some of the standout features of Ada County specifically, we talk about our livable streets performance measures. Most people are familiar with the term LTS, or level of traffic stress. ACHC's always had a measurement for vehicles, level of service, but we never had a measurement for people biking and walking. In 2021, our commission of elected officials advocated and pushed for us to design and build facilities that people will actually use. For example, it might be true that no one wants to ride in a 4-foot bike lane that's on a 5-lane arterial at 45 miles an hour, except the stronger, more confident cyclists. So why don't we design them for all users? And so the level of traffic stress ensures that design funding is invested into something that will get used. And so we strive to build the LTS1 and LTS2 facilities, which means we're automatically looking at things like separated or protected bike lanes. We also have this really cool amenity called the Boise, it's the Green Belt, the Boise Green Belt, but it also goes through Garden City and Eagle. So 50 miles of trail and pathway that extends through the river, across the river, over the river, along the river, the Boise River on either direction, and connecting 3 cities. Super clean, super accessible, very beautiful to bike and walk and kayak and swim and fish. And even here at ACHD, I can probably name off about 10 or 12 people just in this building alone that use the Greenbelt to get to work and utilize bikes. So it's just a fantastic amenity, and it's a big standout feature for us. For our counter program, I wanted to just highlight a little bit and talk about how we're currently using them, how we're not using them, how we're using them, and how we want to use them. We currently have 12 counters in Ada County. We're adding about 4 of those per year. We just added 4 more in the ground just this year. We'll try to continue that, as well as explore. Those are the post counters that you kind of see there in the pictures. But we're also going to explore the AI CITIX counters and things like that, where we can place them in more places other than pathways. But for now, we're using the post counters. We also have our metropolitan planning organization, Compass, has about a dozen counters in Ada County, so we can always look to leverage their data in places where we don't currently have any coverage in the future. And this allows us to do analysis of where people are recreating versus the destination trips or traveling. Maybe people aren't just recreating, maybe they're going to the grocery store, and we get to take a look at that and kind of come up with that analysis. But it's strategic placement. So we're putting them on separated facilities and pathways and side paths. They're placed where people are going. So we've got our schools, our grocery stores, where we know people commute, and then we're also placing them in places that we don't know what they're doing there. We know that it's being utilized, but we don't know for what purpose. But we want to get those counts. We want to see that people are actually traveling those networks within our bike network. The counter program for us is validation. We're pretty new. We're very young in this program. We've got about a year and a half of data from our earliest counters that we put in. So like I said, about 3 years where we've been putting these in. So about 2.5 years worth of data that's inconsistent. We will build that, and over the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to look back and look at year-over-year counts and things like that. We're growing that data set so that we'll be able to do a lot more analysis with that. So we're still pretty early on in that process. But if you take a look at the 2 pictures that are in the slide here, we've got 2 neighborhoods that are being two pathways that are connecting neighborhoods. You have residential. One of them is more urban. The one that has a lot of that greenery there is actually a very urban pathway connecting 2 neighborhoods. And then the one on the bottom is a little bit more of a rural urban interface. You've got 2 rural parcels that are being connected, or that are connecting between 2 neighborhoods. And when we took a look at the data there, once we put them in, even anecdotally on site, the one on the top, you had people biking and walking to the grocery store and riding their bike back with grocery bags because the grocery store is just on the other side of that pathway. And in the Highlander, which is the second picture, that we saw anecdotally also people out there recreating, people out there exercising, just out for a walk. But there's no real destinations in between the two. So that's just more of the type of use for those facilities that you get to see. This is some of the analysis that we have been able to do on the pedestrian side. As an example, we had a counter. We tend to put these counters in places where we are. We're not exactly certain how people are using the facility, but we know they're using them. These counters, this counter here, we started seeing after a year of it being in place, we saw a big spike looking over the full year in the October months, the fall months rather, and it was interesting spikes. And those types of things almost make you think there might be something inconsistent with your data or something's going wrong with the counter, but it was too consistent. And so we took a look at it, and we looked at just those, so the September and October and November, and we boiled it down to Fridays. And what was interesting to us is that we didn't realize beforehand, but 4 of the local high schools do all of their home games at this very beautiful football field. And so what we were picking up on the counters is Friday night lights. Everybody's going to the football games on those Friday nights. So just something like that we can, and this is something that we can translate into the bike data as well when we start taking a look at that in some of our larger pathways. So I wanted to throw this in here because, like I said, we're still youthful in our counter program and what we're gathering, and we want to be able to use that data. But there are some things that we've encountered that for folks that do have counters or want to have counters and want to employ these, just things to know that we didn't know, and we wish somebody would have told us. Try to get them into pathways before projects go in, when it's possible, because then you get that pre and post data. If you can't, get them in with the projects when they go in, so that you start getting that post data and you actually get them in with the projects there. It might be easier to get an install in while that project's ongoing. Sync your battery maintenance. That's something you want to make sure you're doing this and doing these types of maintenance activities, because there is maintenance during months that are a little warmer, perhaps, depending on where you're living at. But also you get more done in the same time, in a shorter time frame. Test your sites for electromagnetic interference. Not a thing we thought we would have to do, but just the idea of moving a utility power pole 15 feet can give you all sorts of crazy counts on a counter, forcing you to have to move that counter. So look for power signatures, try to avoid those sites, go downstream or go upstream from those, or find a better site that doesn't have those types of impacts. And then be aware of pests. Wasps will set up shop and throw your counts because they fly in and out of the sensor hole for pedestrians, for example. So you want to make sure that you're taking a look at that too. But these are just things that happen out there in the natural environment. These posts are out there. The counters are out there, sitting in the ground, and they're going to have some wildlife that comes around them. But just wanted to give a couple of tips for the counters in case people were interested and you don't have them yet and you want to know what the level of maintenance is. So once again, my name is Sean Kelly. I want to just make sure I put this out there again. Meg McCarthy, who's going to be gone from today for the next 3 weeks. She is our bike ped coordinator. She does an immense amount of work with our biking facilities, and I sit with her in design review meetings and trying to make sure that our bike and ped networks are getting better and getting built better. But she is the person to talk to about our bicycle friendly community application, the work that went into doing that. I'm sure the next phase I'll be helping with that as well. But if you have questions about that stuff, Meg McCarthy is the one to really talk to. I'm happy to try to answer any questions that I can. But also for counter type stuff and how we're using our counters, and anybody that has questions about those, I'm very happy to answer questions about that too. So, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate you sharing your bike program and your experience of using counters, the eco counters. And I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about that when we get to the Q&A session. But now I will introduce our second speaker, who is Rachel. Rachel Rulin is a transportation planner with the city of Fort Collins, Colorado, where she oversees the Spin e-bike e-scooter share program and supports active modes. She was previously with the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission in Virginia. Transportation planning is her second career, having been in biomedical research when she began bicycling for transportation in 2004 and got involved in bike and pedestrian advocacy. She has a master's degree in sustainable transportation from the University of Washington. Welcome and thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you. And can you confirm you can see my screen okay and it's the right one?
Looks great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah. So again, Rachel Rulin, I'm transportation planner for the city of Fort Collins. We do have Amy Gage on the call. So like Sean had someone else as the kind of data expert. Amy is our data expert, but I was the one available to do the presentation. So I did come from Roanoke, Virginia to Fort Collins. So I went from bronze bicycle friendly community to platinum about 3.5 years ago. And so I've been able to kind of compare and contrast. And what really struck me the very first week I was in Fort Collins was that it's the same conversations happening. We're just kind of having them at a different level. We're happy. We still are scrambling to find funding to put in bike lanes. We want to do protected bike lanes now. It's still impossible to take away parking. It's the same conversations, just advanced. There we go. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like why it's important to us to be a bicycle friendly community. We are platinum. We are home to a platinum bicycle friendly university, Colorado State University, and we have platinum bicycle friendly businesses as well as other levels. So we've really embraced our identity as a bicycling community, and that's because of decades of bicycle advocacy. And I've always liked to kind of understand when I'm in a place, where did the bicycling movement start? And I don't really know. I've asked a few of those questions, but it's kind of lost in the midst of time. But I think it has to do with that Colorado is really an outdoor state. We do have the university here, and climate is really important to our community. So that advocacy, that came from the community first, and it was from individuals and it was from organizations. And there's a lot of organizations, but I already mentioned Colorado State University, but there's also Bike Fort Collins, which is our local bike ped organization, advocacy organization. And then I wanted to also mention a newer group, Chicas and Bicycletas. This is a large and growing group of Spanish-speaking women who bicycle. So we also have at the city a lot of staff who are enthusiastic bicyclists and are passionate about bicycling, and the same thing in our leadership, both our elected leaders and the internal organization, the leaders in the internal organization. So that said, and I'll kind of briefly go through some of the really fun, great things that Fort Collins is doing. But even with all that, it's not perfect. Like it's not safe and comfortable everywhere. You can't get everywhere you need to go. So we want to do better, and we aspire to be diamond. Like platinum isn't good enough for us. We know that we need that 20% bicycle mode share to get to diamond. And our active modes plan that we adopted in 2022 has a goal of 50% active mode share. So that'd be biking and walking by 2032. So we will need that 20% bicycle to at least to get to that 50%. So a few things about like what makes us platinum. I kind of have, I mean, there's so many, like I could talk for hours about this. I won't do that, but I just wanted to touch on a few things: the infrastructure, our events, and our education. So some of our infrastructure in some of the photos here, like we have some innovative intersection treatments, like this one with the, the bicyclist can push the button on this side, and there's a crosswalk and a cross bike that leads to a bike path that's actually separate from the sidewalk. This is an important connection, and there's a reason why this wasn't a multi-use path. It ended up being kind of two separate paths. But this makes an important connection, and it's those intersections that you could have the nice low stress bicycle network, but when you get to those intersections, those can really be gaps in that network. We have I think the count is now 14 pedestrian hybrid beacons, or also known as hawk signals. And of course bike boxes and so forth. We just have a lot of innovative treatments, and we're always wanting to try new things. But again, we have those same conversations where we get pushback, like Sean said, from our engineers who know how to do things the way they know how to do them. I wanted to mention our asphalt art. This project was a really big project, and we converted this awkward 5-legged intersection into something much more manageable, safer, more comfortable for everybody. And we don't have nearly enough protected bike lanes, but we're getting more. So here's one of our newest. This is our newest. And then I wanted to mention like our low stress bicycle network. So you can see the green lines, they're almost in the background. That's our paved trails. And we do have a beautiful paved trail network, but you could see this, this little screenshot of a map is kind of overwhelmed. It's the on-street facilities sort of overwhelm the map. We have a lot of on-street facilities that we consider to be part of our low stress bicycle network. And that's really important because our trails just don't get you everywhere you need to go. They are by far the most beautiful, wonderful, comfortable to ride, but you have to have those on-street facilities. And where those on-street facilities cross your arterials, you have to, put a lot into those crossings to make them crossable. So some of our events, we've got open streets, and we have 2 bike to work days. So we even have a winter bike to work day. And those are the ones that the city puts on. Bike and walk to school day. Also the schools put the kind of are leading those, but the city is involved too. And so this is a bike rack at one of the schools that's just absolutely packed on bike and walk to school day. But then we also have, from outside of the city government, we have like the Tour de Fat. We have the Foco Fondo. This is a participant in the disability category at the Foco Fondo. So it's very inclusive. And then I wanted to mention education. So we have one of the largest Safe Routes to School programs in the nation. And that, our program is as large as you would find in bigger cities. In fact, the Safe Routes to School National Conference was held in Fort Collins last year. We have this walk and wheel skills hub, but this is a traffic garden. So it's got little bike lanes and crosswalks. It's got bike boxes. It's got a little roundabout. It's absolutely delightful. We have a lot of our training, our classes are held out here. It's got full-size street signs in it. So this is a really beautiful facility. Okay, yep, that was everything about education I wanted to mention. Yeah, so what kind of data do we use as a bicycle friendly community and to support our bicycle friendly community? Well, as Kara mentioned, we did start with manual counts, and we had a really long-standing manual count program. Manual counts give you that snapshot. As we got more automated counters, then those can give us trends. And so for a long time, we had both. We had the manual counts and automated counters. And the manual count program was really kind of an institution. There were volunteers who had been part of it for, you know, over a decade. And so we did eventually end the manual count program, but that was a little sad, you know, to see that go. So the automated counts, they do give us, you know, the where and the number of trips that are happening. And because they're always there, you can look at time of day of week, seasons, trends over years. You can look at events. And you could do those before and after counts. So having some that are mobile are really helpful for those before and after. And we have a couple of the pedestrian counters that were, Amy actually is the one who moves those around every week. And right now she's focusing on new sidewalks. So it's not a before and after, it's just the after, because we don't have the before. There was no sidewalk there before. We have a lot of counters on the paved trail. So those would be parks and natural areas that own those counters. The university has some counters. I counted up sort of the whole collection of counters in the city, and I think there's close to 40, depending on how you count them. So while parks and natural areas and the university kind of manage their counters, we do have access to all that data. And so we have one city staff and that's Amy, who's like rotating the mobile counters and doing these before and after counts and kind of managing like all the data overall. So that was my role when I was in Roanoke, although not nearly as big a production as Amy does, I think. So I also wanted to mention the travel diary, because I think this really complements our automated counts. And I feel this is another difference between Fort Collins and Roanoke, is we wished we had a travel diary in Roanoke, but Fort Collins has been doing a travel diary every few years for a little while. With a travel diary, it is more of a snapshot. We do this once every few years. Thousands are sent out to randomly selected people, and then you get, of course, a tiny percentage of those back. It's a commitment to fill out that travel diary. You're recording a whole lot of information for 7 days about every trip you or anyone in your household makes. But of those travel diaries that we do get back, we get information about behavior, motivation, decision making, who is making the trips, and the distance of the trips. So we use the travel diary data. Our transportation demand management program uses it to target behavior in their programs and then track outcomes of their programs. Our active modes plan and we have a study called the Transportation Capital Projects Prioritization Study. Both of those use this travel diary data for project prioritization. Our frequency of doing the travel diary, we're working on the employee travel diary or employee travel survey now, and then the idea is two years later we'll do this population travel, and so we'll repeat this 2022 travel diary, and then 2 years after that we would repeat the employee one. So we're hoping that this is going to move into a kind of a 4-year cycle, where every 2 years we're doing one or other of the studies. I just wanted to, I kind of threw some numbers up on the slide. I just wanted to point out that our bike and pedestrian mode share increased a little bit, 1 or 2% for all trips, but it actually decreased for our commute trips, and that's because the telework mode share really climbed. So I think that's kind of an important to have that data, because like the census data only looks at that commute mode share, right? Whereas having our own internal travel diary, we can get so much more data, and we can get data about all trips, not just commute trips. So then I have a couple analyses I wanted to talk about a little bit too. This one is really neat. This is a 15-minute city. So a 15-minute city, the idea is you can access most of your daily destinations within a 15-minute bike ride, which is about 3 miles, or a 15-minute walk, which is about 3/4 of a mile. But it's not just any 3 miles or 3/4 miles. For the bike ride, it's 3 miles on that low stress network. And for the 3/4 mile walk, that would be a 3/4 miles of low stress crossing. So for example, where I live, there's a grocery store across the intersection, but it's a terribly busy, it's a very uncomfortable intersection. It is not low stress. So that grocery store is not actually within a 3/4 mile walk of me, even though it's less than half a mile away. It's probably in that 3 mile low stress bike a bike ride. I don't do that because it'd be way out of my way. I just use the uncomfortable crossing. And it might not actually be 3 miles. I think it is. So then the other thing we're looking at in this analysis is the density of activity. So we have 11 destination categories like schools, grocery stores, medical offices, and employers. And then we're looking at how many of those categories and how many within each category can you get to with that 15-minute bike ride or walk. Then something we can do with this then is we can overlay it with our health equity index. So then we can identify areas where a little bit of investment into our active modes infrastructure or into our activity density could have a really profound impact on really profound equity impact. So this analysis was used in project prioritization in our active modes plan. Okay, and then the last analysis I wanted to chat about a little bit, a lot of communities have their high injury network now. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we identified our high injury network. High injury networks are identified or calculated based on severe crash history. So we did that, but we did it separately for bike, ped, and motor vehicle. So we have this, 3 different high injury networks, and then we set a threshold for each of these, and so took like the highest crash risk for bikes, for peds, and for motor vehicles, and then we put those all together into one high injury network. And what we, all these studies, I've mentioned a couple, but there's a lot more studies and plans out there, and they all have project identification and they all have project prioritization that includes safety. So we end up with this pool of projects that are already high priority, already prioritized projects. And some of these are a good fit for this funding opportunity or for that funding opportunity, or this one's not a good fit for any funding opportunity because of right-of-way acquisition, or it's not very far along, like we have no idea how much it's going to cost and things like that. But we still end up with a pool of projects and we're left scratching our heads. Which one are, they're all high priority. How do we choose? And so what we've taken to doing is we've really been leaning into this high injury network to kind of choose between if one, they're all high priority, they all have that, they check the box on safety, but if one of them falls on the high injury network, then that's the one we can choose. So yeah, so that's what I had, and I've included Amy's contact information here. I also have Dashel has joined us too, and he's the one who can answer questions about the travel diary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It was really interesting to learn about the programming and events and the efforts that the City of Fort Collins has taken over the years. And we would love to see the City of Fort Collins achieve diamond level in the future. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen before we get to our question and answer period. All right. So I believe you can all see my screen now. So this is just kind of a quick snapshot of what the map will look like. So again, we're creating this larger project in order to be able to map out all of the bicycle-friendly communities across the US. This first phase that we're working on will just be the platinum and gold level communities, and with future iterations, we'll gradually add the other levels as well. So when you go onto the map, which will in the future be officially launched at the National Bike Summit, which you should all join us for, once it's publicly live, you'll be able to click on the link and interact with it live, but I just have screenshots for today. So this is what you would see. You'd see the map. You'd see the icon over the City of Fort Collins. Each community will select one counting site from their fleet that they think best represents the usership of their bicycle facilities. And when you click on here, this little pop-up window will appear, and it'll show a site photo of that facility. It'll give some quick key figures, and you can see data from the beginning of the year, and you can choose whether you see it from day, week, or month summaries. And then you can click on this show more icon, and it will take you to a separate page that will pop out and give you more detailed information. So this is from Ada County, the Capitol Boulevard counting site. And so it gives you kind of a larger summary of those key figures, of totals from the year, and also maximum or those peak counts that were observed. It also tells you when that site was originally installed. So here we have data going back to July of 2024. As you continue to scroll down, you can see the daily, weekly, and monthly totals for that site. And you can choose whether you see them in day, weekly, or monthly summaries. This is a daily summary, so you can see what those highest traveled days are. And it looks like there was a lot of activity in April at that location. And you can also see it according to directional traffic of which direction people are traveling. And as you continue to scroll down, you will see the daily profile and hourly profiles. So the light green are weekdays and blues are weekends. So you can see which days of the week are more heavily traveled. And you can see the hourly profile. So we see that that light green line has those peak ridership between the morning commute hours and the afternoon commute hours, whereas the weekend has a mid-afternoon peak ridership. And you can
Hey.
also look at it by direction to
Hi,
see
Kara.
which, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We aren't seeing the details that you're showing. It's just sort of on the static map. So I don't know if you have,
Oh, really?
yeah. I wasn't sure if it was just me, but I'm starting to see comments too from other people to confirm.
Okay. Well, then let's just try showing it live. How about that?
Sounds great.
What do you see now?
I'm seeing the map. Let me try clicking on something.
See the map. Can you see it moving?
Yes, now it's moving.
Okay, great. All right, so this is a live introduction. So when you have the map, you click on the icon, you get the pop-up window that shows the key figures, summaries. If we click on show more, it brings us to another page with a summary of the key figures, installation date. You can choose what time period you want to see. You can choose, this is the summary from the beginning of the year. You can choose day, week, or monthly totals with directional data if you want. These are the daily profiles I was talking about with the hourly profiles. So the peak ridership in the morning and afternoons with directional data. So you can see what time of the day, which route is busier. You can get an overall summary of directional data. And then finally, you can see the evolution of average daily traffic throughout the years. So this is from the city of Fort Collins, and we can see that there was a very significant uptake within the first years of the development of that facility, and it's relatively stabilized over the past couple of years. So I don't want to take any more time. I want to leave for questions. So I'm going to open the floor for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kara. That was an exciting sneak preview, and thanks to everybody who helped us confirm that we weren't seeing it. So I'm glad we did that way so that everybody could see it. And I'll just echo that we are so excited to unveil it at the National Bike Summit. And I put some additional links in the chat to make sure everybody had the links to find out more about everything we've talked about. So I'll invite all speakers and guests to come on camera. We invited some additional folks from Fort Collins and from EcoCounter to help answer questions. And we have a few through the Q&A box and a few through the chat. So I'm going to try to juggle at the 6 minutes we have. I'll start with one that's kind of a big question, but have any of you with EcoCounters used the data to secure funding at the local, county, or state level for shared use or bike-specific facilities and to expand safe biking and walking? Any examples of that you have from your communities?
I can't think of any. Amy, are you aware of any in Fort Collins?
Not at the local level, no, but data is a key part of applying for grants, though, and that is something that, you know, we recognize our data is going to be useful for. So we think more at the federal level. Wouldn't you agree, Rachel? That's where we've utilized it. It does tell a story, though, and you know, part of in responding to Stuart's question, you know, as infrastructure is very expensive, but one thing that data can do is inspire behavior change. So as we all face restricted funding, what we're trying to do with our data is utilize that to reach out to the public and inspire a little bit more behavior change with the existing infrastructure that we have.
I would share from ACHD's side that we haven't done it that way. We have actually done the reverse. We have used grant funding to acquire the counters and get them installed. And so that's something that we've done for the last 3 years. So it works. We can now take that data that we gather over the next couple of years and then probably go forth and do that.
I guess I could add on that some of our grants require before and after data collection. And so that's been part of our data collection.
Great, thanks. Had a question for EcoCounter that was already answered in the chat, but for the sake of the recording, I'll ask. And it was about the sort of pest piece of it and whether EcoCounter is working to address those challenges of, little rodents interrupting counts.
I'll hop in, and Daniel, if you want to expand, feel free. But yeah, we are constantly evolving our products to be able to navigate any challenges that arise, and environmental challenges are kind of always something that's ever present. We launched our new Evo range starting kind of a year or two ago. And our products have been designed to kind of mitigate those challenges. So we no longer have any holes or small entry points for pests or spiders or anything like that to crawl into. And generally speaking, we're always looking for feedback on how to improve our products. Yeah.
Right. There was also a question about how weather impacts the counts and any quality control for weather impacts.
Yeah, with the EcoVisio software, we actually now have a new module that allows you to overlay weather data onto user facility or user accounts to be able to understand how weather may impact people's usage of a particular facility. So that provides more insight into that granular level of detail. And we also have a new service that's integrated into our subscriptions, and it is a data validation reconstruction service. So either annually or quarterly, our data services team is looking through the historical data set to find any anomalies that may have occurred, either gaps or extreme counts that don't seem that are unexpected. And with the permission of the person who owns the counter, we can reconstruct what the anomaly would have been if normal counting had occurred. So we've introduced new services and features into our range of solutions in order to be able to ensure that the data is cleaner and more reliable moving forward. And also a great feature when you're sharing your data public, that you know that it's more reliable.
Nice, thank you. And with 1 minute left, I'm just going to try to answer 2 questions that came in. One was whether bicycle-friendly universities might be included in the map, gold and platinum level BFUs. And I'll say we don't have plans for that at the moment, but I love that as a next step. So once we get all the BFCs in, stay tuned. And then someone who's in a gold level community asked whether mobile counters will be included. And my understanding is that the map would focus on permanent location counters. Garrett, correct me if I'm wrong. Cool.
Yeah, each BFC will choose one counter from their fleet that they think best reflects their community. So if you think that one particular site, it's more about a counting site than an actual counter. So yeah, whatever best reflects the ridership in your community.
That's great. And if you're tuning in from a gold or platinum level community, just know that you will hear from EcoCounter very soon to be invited to participate in the map. We need to get your sort of consent to include you. So stay tuned for those emails if you're in a community that qualifies, and we're really excited to add you to the map and get your data included and to get your involvement to reflect the location on the map. So we're at time. Sorry, we didn't have time to get to the last couple of questions, but this has been a fabulous discussion, and I really appreciate presentations from our friends at EcoCounter and these two really awesome exemplary bicycle-friendly communities. Sean and Rachel, I feel like you guys really showed off why you're gold and platinum, and I thank you for that. The National Bike Summit will be the place where we unveil the map in its first iteration. So we're really excited about that. And please feel free to reach out to EcoCounter if you have any questions about using their counters in your community. Thank you all so much, and stay tuned for the recording of today's webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.